Hey, Algebra 2, welcome to the last lesson of Unit 2. Okay, this one is called the quadratic formula. It's a fun one. So, if you come up to a quadratic formula and you can't solve it just by like getting x by itself, you can't solve with a root, it's not factorable, but your question says solve. The question says find your roots. How to solve a seemingly unsolvable question. And this is kind of just something I want you to have in your, in your quadratic tool belt. It's not something that comes up a ton. But it's really good to know that it exists, okay? And it's a big formula. It's a big formula that comes with a song. I've seen a lot of students all over the country that actually learn this song to different tunes. Some sing it to London Bridge is Falling Down. Personally, I learned it with Pop Goes the Weasel, so you're going to learn it with Pop Goes the Weasel. And I will link a YouTube video if you want to practice it, just to have it quickly in your mind. All right. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. There it is. Your big old quadratic formula. It's giant. It's giant. And I love it because it always works. Sometimes when I'm trying to think of what factor there is, like what multiplies to 64 and adds to 28 or whatever, and it's sometimes it's really hard to think about those factors. If I can't think of them, I love to just use the quadratic formula just to solve, just to like be able to always find an answer. So let's do one quadratic problem that we do kind of already know the answer to. Let's see. So let's do this one. X squared minus 6x minus 16. It's one we've done before, but we're going to solve it with the quadratic formula this time. X squared minus 6x minus 16 equals 0. Has to be equal to 0. Okay. And what are all of these A, B's, and C's, you may ask? Well, in standard form, we have an A, a B, and a C. So with a quadratic formula, it's got to be in standard form. It's got to be equal to 0. Once that's set, then we can use the quadratic formula. All right, here it goes. So I like to just write these out, A, B, and C, so I don't accidentally plug something in somewhere else. This is a huge formula. There's a lot of room for error, okay? So A is whatever's multiplying x squared, B is whatever's multiplying x, and C is whatever's multiplying, or the constant, sorry, whatever is not multiplying an x, the constant. Okay, now I'm going to take all of these numbers and I'm going to plug them into the quadratic formula. X equals negative 6 plus or minus the square root of negative 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 16 all over 2 times 1. Okay, so all of these A's, B's, C's were all replaced with the numbers that they are. There is one step to quadratic formula. It's simplify. So let's simplify this one step at a time. Okay. X equals negative 6 is just 6 plus or minus the square root. Negative 6 squared is 36. Negative 4 times 1 times 16 is positive 64 all over 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, let's keep going. X equals 6 plus or minus the square root. 36 plus 64 is 100 all over 2. If you're really wanting to plug this into a calculator, I wait until this step because there's a lot going on. Your calculator can make mistakes, those typing errors. I try to simplify it as much as you can before you enter it in. Let's keep going. Square root of 100 is 10. So 6 plus or minus 10 all over 2. Okay. Now let's split this. I'm going to jump up here. X equals 6 plus 10 over 2 and minus 10 over 2. The reason I'm going to keep going with this is because these are both numbers. Sometimes this is your last step. But here I've got 16 over 2, which is 8. And here, negative 4 over 2, which is negative 2. So if I couldn't think of those factors that multiply to 16 and add to 6, 8 and 2, this quadratic formula will give me the answer. Now, I'm going to show you an example of a problem that you cannot factor. We're going to do 2 more. X squared plus 3x minus 2. All right, what's A, what's B, and what's C? I don't have a ton of room left. I'm going to do it here and here. All right, in this case here, A is 1, B is 3, C is negative 2. Let's plug it all in. Plug it all in. X equals negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 2 all over 2 times 1. To this day, I can't really do it without humming that tune. I learned that song 20 years ago. Okay. Negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 9. Let's see. Negative 4 times 1 times negative 2 is 8. Positive 8 all over 2. So negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 1 all over 2. Square root of, 17. There. Okay. So this would be your answer. You can leave it right there. Or if they were like, something said estimate the 2 roots here. I would type into my calculator negative 3 plus the square root of 17 divided by 2 and negative 3 minus the square root of 17 all over 2. Calculator, here we go. Negative 3 plus the square root of 17 divided by 2 is just about 0.56. And then negative 3 minus the square root of 17. Oops. Square root of 17 divided by 2 is roughly negative 3.56. So this can kind of tell me on a quadratic function, this is face up, the y-intercept is negative 2. It's going to tell me that roughly my roots are going to be positive 0.5-ish and negative 3.5-ish. So it kind of tells me a little bit about what the parabola is going to look like. That's what these really are. They're roots. They're x-intercepts. They're zeros. Okay. All right, one more example. Negative x squared plus 4x minus 5 equals 0. Okay, let's start by finding what's my a, what's my b, and what's my c. So a here is a -1. B here is a 4. And C is -5. Okay. Plug it in and simplify. That's the only step. X equals -b, -4, plus or minus the square root of 4 squared minus 4 times -1 times -5, all over 2 times -1. Okay. Only step here is to simplify. Let's start under that root. So -4 plus or minus 16, -4 times -1 times -5 is -20, all over -2. Keep going. So -4 plus or minus the square root of -4. Uh-oh. It's negative under my root, all over -2. What is the square root of -4? -4 plus or minus. Now I'm going to break that into the square root of 1 and the square root of 4, right? So x is -4 plus or minus 2i all over 2. Last thing here, I can divide both of these by 2. So x equals -2, because 4 divided by 2 is 2, plus or minus 2 divided by 2 is just 1. And you can leave your answer just like that. This graph is face down and lower, just so we got an idea of where this graph is, right? It's -b. It's like this, kind of down here. So it never crosses the x-axis, which is why my roots are imaginary, but that'd be why.